Welcome to Props and Hops, a podcast pursuing the best in betting and beer. I'm your host, Matt Landis, and this week our guest, none other than Bettor Spanky. You may know him as the host of the Be Better Betters podcast, and Spanky is also becoming a creator extraordinaire, creator of Bet Bash, the sports betting networking conference, the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame, which we will get into. That's a fun new addition to the Spanky portfolio. And of course, SpankOdds as well, the free for now real-time odds service. This episode will primarily be a deep dash on Bet Bash 3, a deep dash. There we go. I'm getting into Bet Bash mode already. A deep dive on Bet Bash 3 taking place August 8th to 11th in Las Vegas, as well as the new Sports Gambling Hall of Fame, which will have its first induction ceremony serving as the capstone event of Bet Bash 3. Spanky, a lot of awesome stuff to get to. So great to reconnect with you. Welcome back to Props and Hops.
Matt, thanks for having me. I love it. I love props and hops, and it's always a pleasure.
All right, well, let's dive right in. Bet Bash 3 has plenty cooking already, and I'd like to start with a big picture look at everything. And for context for listeners to this show, Spanky, you were on the Always Betting and 90 Degrees podcasts last week. You were also on VSiN this morning with Gil Alexander as we record this the afternoon of Monday, June 5th. A lot of good background in those conversations on your experience, your betting operation. You also hosted a Twitter space last week on Bet Bash. So for the purposes of this conversation, I'll look to advance rather than repeat things where possible. And also want to make sure that if anybody could use a refresher or is coming across this for the first time, they're getting the info they need. So to kick things off, Spanky, let's talk Bet Bash 3, again, August 8th to 11th at Circa in Las Vegas, as well as Circa's sister property, the D. And for those who maybe could use a refresher or the few unacquainted sports bettors when it comes to Bet Bash, how would you describe the concept of the conference and really the origin story behind it?
So Bet Bash 3 came out, as just a personal need. Bet Bash in general was a personal need. Right around when COVID was kind of right in the come ending and people were getting out again. It was been years since I was able to interact and socialize. I used to go to the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference up in Massachusetts, and that was nice. But missing that and not having an interaction with fellow sports bettors made me yearn to have that. So I said, if nobody else is going to do it, then I'll do it. I'll create it. And you were there, Matt, at the first Bet Bash one in Jersey City. It was a proof of concept. We had 220 people show up from all over the country, some from Canada, and I think some even from overseas. And the proof of concept was proven. So we said, okay. I went over to Matt Metcalf, Derek Stevens at the Circa, and I said, guys, I want to bring this to Las Vegas, and I want to make this a multi-day affair. They were all for it, and that happened. That's where we got Bet Bash 2, which took place April 2022 at the Circa in the D, and that was completely unbelievable. People, the rave reviews were out, and everybody had a great time. Again, Matt, you were there as well, and it was just awesome. And now we come to Bet Bash 3. It's been over a year for this, and the wait has been long, and we don't want to wait this long ever again. We pushed Bet Bash to now take place every August instead of every April for several reasons. The two main ones, though, well, number one, it's kind of right before football is starting, so everybody's kind of excited, building connections, making friends, learning from each other, and waiting for the busy season to start. And also, people would always go to Las Vegas to enter this football contests, so this was a good time to be able to kill two birds with one stone. You're able to go to Bet Bash, and you're able to sign up for these contests in one shot. So that's kind of why Bet Bash now is in August.
Glad we don't have any more year and a half gaps in between Bet Bash sessions in the foreseeable future. I will say, from a very selfish standpoint, I was partial to the April timing that we got to enjoy last year. Again, selfishly, my anniversary is in August. The weather can be a bit more extreme. I know that April climate in Vegas was a nice selling point last year. That said, I don't think there could possibly exist a bad time of year for something like Bet Bash to occur. and it totally makes sense between the contest entries and just building momentum as we head into football season, which is the pinnacle for a lot of bettors to really get things kicked off on the proper note there.
Absolutely, Matt. Great point. And it is going to be hot, but we're mostly going to be indoors. So, and there's a couple of outdoor events that we have planned, and we get into those. But listen, you know what I mean. It's fine. Even though it's hot and you have a cool drink in your hand, it's all right.
Yeah, no complaints about that type of scenario. And Spanky, I've got to say, not just from my own personal experience, but everybody I've spoken with, any complaints have been few and far between when it comes to the first two Bet Bashes. I'd love to hear your insight on some of your biggest takeaways from those first two editions of Bet Bash and how that has informed your vision for the upcoming Bet Bash 3.
Well, listen, people. I create things that I personally use, or I think that I enjoy, and that I think others would enjoy. Now, I'm not always right. There's a lot of everyone has different tastes, but being a sports bettor and a professional sports bettor for so long, and kind of knowing what I would seek and what I would look for to be able to become a better bettor. Um, is what I created, and that's how I kind of designed Bet Bash, to be able to have as many opportunities for people to make friends. And because of friendships, then business relationships get formed, and or vice versa. Because of business relationships, friendships gets formed, and that's what it's all about. And it's this is props and hops. You guys talk, you bet and you drink, and that's what we're looking to do at Bet Bash. We have four open bars. And that was always a big thing, where I always wanted to have open bars so people could just drink freely, and talk and mingle, and make friends. So most of the major connections I've made over the years were always either at a bar, at a restaurant, at a dinner, at something where I'm sitting down and just talking to somebody. So I thought, why not create that for people to give them the opportunity to be able to mingle around. But that being said, Matt, there are some people that are a little bit more introverted that find it hard to be able to get out of their shell and just have a conversation in a bar setting or whatnot. So that's why we created structured mingling events, structured formats for people to interact with each other. Namely, this year we're having two of those: the speed networking, and what we're calling Bet Dash, which is the scavenger hunt. And we could get more into those whenever you'd like.
Yeah, I'd love to dig into those shortly. One more big picture question, and then we can really nerd out over the itinerary. When it comes to those takeaways you touched on from Bet Bash 1 and Bet Bash 2, what would you say you are most looking to recreate at Bet Bash 3? And then, as successful as the first two events seem to have been, anything that you're most looking to change with this upcoming Bet Bash conference as well?
Yeah, so let me answer the second question first. We're not having the bookie better breakfast anymore, just because hindsight's of course 2020. This was a no duh situation, but we had the Legacy Club party the night before the bookie better breakfast, which and unfortunately, it was the least attended event of all the events last year, because people were just too hungover and just didn't get up, and understandably so. So we're trying to not to do. We have the panels and we have some morning events still, but we're trying to make it so that instead of the Bookie Better Breakfast, which was more of a legends, focusing on legends and people you could meet, we kind of substituted that with the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame. So, other than that, though, Matt, it's pretty much, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing. We believe the formula works. The open bars are there. The watch parties are there. The panels are there. The speed networking is there. Good food, good times. The only another big difference is all the events that are happening, the day events are happening at the Circa, which we weren't able to do last year because the convention space at the Circa wasn't finished, wasn't completed, and it just finished in June of 2022, I believe. So now the convention space, I toured it; it's unbelievable. So we'll be getting out of the D convention space, and we're able to accommodate more people using the newly renovated, the newly created Circa convention space. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I think there's plenty for people to get excited about when it comes to Bet Bash 3. And Spanky, let's go ahead and do a deep dive on the itinerary. starting with the first official event Tuesday, August 8th in the evening, 6 to 9 p.m., an opening night registration cocktail party. That one will be at the D at Bar Canada. And for those who have attended in the past, Spanky, I know last year there seemed to be a similar opening registration. Should people expect a similar experience to Bet Bash 2 the way they were welcome there, with the one change being that this time an open bar is included as well?
Yeah, so we decided to make every bar now open bar. We do, and I don't know if and since the last Bet Bash, Bar Canada has been expanded. It's actually been renovated
Hmm.
slightly to be able to accommodate more people, and we believe that is the perfect place to be able to have a lot of people to congregate and to be able to spill out and into the casino floor. So it's just a great atmosphere. It's on the second floor, so you're kind of not with the regular gamblers. You're on the second floor of the D, which is great. And we're gonna have different we're gonna streamline it. Last year there was some long lines that we've encountered at registration, so we're gonna eliminate that, and we're gonna try to make sure that we pipeline this adequately so that people are not really waiting too much to register, and instead getting their credentials as fast as possible and going right to the bar and getting that first drink, and making friendships. So yeah, so we're really excited about that.
Plenty of opportunity to make friendships as well. The following morning, Wednesday, August 9th, the morning session will be speed networking. It returns after the Bet Bash 2 experience that many participated in as well. And for those who attended last year, Spanky, how would you say that this edition of speed networking might be similar to or different from that Bet Bash 2 experience?
So we're bringing back Michael from speednetworking.com, who's an expert at this. And, last year we had a couple little hiccups in the beginning of the speed networking. That's all been resolved. And I have my buddy Elihu Foistel, who's actually working with Michael from speed networking to try to optimize the algorithm to even get better matches this time. Um, it's very important for us to get the best matches possible for everybody. Now, like I said, just to deep dive, as you said, Matt, the speed networking is 15 5-minute meetings that are designed based on your preferences. So you would fill out a form. It'll take 2 3 minutes to fill out, and 2 3 minutes fill out, and your preferences on you would rate what you like from 1 to 5. So you could be different sports. What kind of a better are you a handicapper? Are you bottom up, top down? Are you into hockey, baseball, basketball, football, college, pro? Or do you like to get accounts? Do you like to build models? Do you like to So the list goes on and on. We have all these different criteria and categories that people will fill out, and then we'll also give out an who would you like to meet. So I might be a college football better, but I want to meet a hockey better, maybe to diversify and kind of spread out broaden my horizons. Or I might be a college football better that just says, you know what, I want to just meet other college football betters, and I want to rate the other sports just a 1 because I'm not interested in meeting a hockey better or an MMA better. Or I might be, so it's a 1 through 5. I might want to meet an NFL better because it's both football. So it all depends. It's a personal thing. You'll fill out you'll rate these all these questions, and then the algorithm, the computer program, will then kick in and create 15 matches for you, and it'll be 5-minute meetings. I urge anyone coming to BetBash to bring either a business card or to just bring little slips of paper with your name, phone number, and email, because you don't want to waste time writing stuff down, or writing your contact down where you're going to give your contact to somebody. You kind of want to spend that time talking and learning about them and seeing if this is a relationship you'd want to pursue after the speed networking event. And this is why, Matt, we made the speed networking event the first day event, just like last year of Bet Bash, because then you have several days in order to follow up on those connections that you made.
You referenced a questionnaire that people will be filling out. For those who have already bought tickets, or perhaps those who will buy tickets in the near future, is that something attendees should be looking out for in the days or perhaps weeks leading up to Bet Bash 3?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to be sending that out in several weeks from now. And if you, let's just say, you didn't get a chance to fill out the questionnaire the night, that cocktail party the night of, we're going to have a separate section in Bar Canada for people that need to sign up for speed networking if they haven't signed up already. So we'll have Michael from speed networking, and we'll have my staff helping people sign up and assisting them with that, to be able to make sure that the next morning goes smooth. So yeah, we'll definitely be sending out ahead of time, Matt, to answer your question, but we'll also accommodate those procrastinators. Of course, they're always there, that are going to want to be able to wait till the last minute and just say what is, or maybe not even know what the speed network is, or never heard of it, or just ignored the email that we sent them. They'd be able to sign up on the spot the night before.
Well, if you're a bettor who procrastinates, you might be in the minus EV scenario of betting NFL games on Sunday right before kickoff. Hopefully, we can safely assume more expected value to come for those procrastinators when it comes to the speed networking questionnaire, even if they happen to be filling it out at that opening night cocktail party.
Absolutely, yes. And we'll take care of you no matter what. That's the one thing I take pride, Matt, in making sure I meet every attendee. I shake everybody's hand, and the one thing about Bet Bash, just to get a little bit more bigger picture here, Matt, is Bet Bash is for everyone. It's for not just professionals, not just for recreationals, and but everybody in between as well. We are here to help each other and to be able to learn from each other. Just because I'm a pro better doesn't mean I can't learn from a rec better. That's nonsense. I could learn from anybody. Everybody has certain skills that they could share and bring skills to the table, and hopefully when we come together, we create that synergy, and we could maybe create some type of a relationship. Or if we can't do that, maybe I can help someone out, or they can help me out, and just be able to kind of give back to the community, and better the community, for everyone to become better sports bettors.
To build on your point that everybody can learn from everybody else at Bet Bash, and also circling back to a previous tip you shared of bringing business cards, you shared that tip last year when we had this conversation previewing Bet Bash 2. And I'm so glad that you mentioned it and that I was able to act upon it, because aside from the speed networking sessions themselves, the morning of speed networking, prior to everything kicking off, I found my friend, good friend of the show, Ed Fang, and sat next to him, and Ed Fang happened to be sitting next to another prolific Ed in the betting space, Ed Golden, the founder of Right Angle Sports. And I wasn't paired with Ed in speed networking, but I met him beforehand and I had my business cards on hand. I gave one to him. I have no idea what Ed could learn from me when it comes to the betting space, but we were able to strike up a bit of a relationship. And since then, I've gotten to know a few other guys on his Right Angle Sports team. So, really want to underscore the point of just showing up, having business cards, or at least something with your contact info written down, because who knows where it's going to go from there.
Great point, Matt. Definitely, you definitely want to be able to even just and you might trigger something. Pass your business card around, or a lot of people have the virtual business cards where you have a QR code or something, just something to be able to make sure that you're not wasting time, especially in the speed networking. It's called speed for a reason. We don't want to waste time, and you want to fit all the meetings in and then go on about your day. So yeah, definitely become prepared. And again, there's people that didn't have time to make business cards. They just cut out 15 sheets of paper and just wrote their name and number and email on them, and and was ready to pass them out as they made those connections. So not as professional looking, to be honest, but hey, it does the trick.
Yeah, certainly better than nothing. And one more point on speed networking to your tip of showing up prepared. I think you also mentioned last year something that really helped inform my approach, having about a 1 minute elevator pitch in your back pocket. I think the benefits of this can be twofold. Externally, meeting other people, it can enable you to put your best foot forward for the others that you'll be meeting, and that can be a better experience for them. Internally, having that elevator pitch ready might lead to less anxiety in the moment. I know this is not the most comfortable setting for everybody, but just having a short elevator pitch, it doesn't have to be long, doesn't require too much memorization or anything like that, but it can really be a good way to make sure that you're maximizing those key beginning moments of each 5 minute session.
Great point, man. I'm so glad you remembered that. Yeah, that's something that you have 5 minutes. So essentially, each person's talking for 2.5 minutes. You want to talk for a minute, minute and a half. Let the other person talk for a minute and a half. But you should have, the tell me about yourself type thing. That's the first question. That's going to be the question. So you have to be ready. That's what you're going to do. Let me tell you about myself. Here's what I do. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm interested in. Then you tell me the same thing. And hey, maybe now for the last minute or two, we can find a way. Hey, look, wow, that sounds interesting. I think maybe we could do something together. Or I'm not sure that will fit. That's the best part about this thing is that if you have a great meeting, awesome. You exchange information and you follow up. But if you have a dud meeting, no problem. It's about to end in about 2 minutes anyway. So you know what I'm saying? It's like the best part about this is that I can't tell you how many dinners I've been to, man, over the years, where when the first 5 or 10 minutes, I knew this relationship was going to go nowhere, but I couldn't just get up and walk out on a dinner and leave.
Mhm.
I have to sit and listen. I'm a social person. I'm going to have a good time, but at the same time, it was kind of a waste. You know what I mean? Where I could have been doing something, but then again, you never know until you try. And that's the most beautiful thing about the speed networking is that I always tell this to everybody, and I've probably repeated this line 100 times. If you just make one connection, just one in the whole speed networking, the entire conference is worth the price because that one connection could lead to other connections later on. And I'm sure, Matt, I know you've made several connections at the speed networking that you enjoyed, and you really I remember you telling me that it was you had a great time, if I recall.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges for how uncomfortable it can be at the start is just keeping your voice for the rest of the day and the rest of the session. Because once things get going, they can really snowball in a positive way. So, my biggest tip to anybody, aside from what we've already shared about bringing business cards or at least something with your name and contact info written down, showing up with an elevator pitch, just showing up with an open mind and seeing where conversations take you. Because I think that a lot of people who aren't too deep in the industry can hear stories about shady figures, and there's a certain stigma that surrounded betting for a long time. Macro level, that seems to be getting better the farther removed we get from PASPA being repealed, but really just having these in-person interactions, it's eye-opening how many genuinely good people there are in this space. And I think that while it might be uncomfortable right off the bat, just taking any of that discomfort head on will really lead to the best overall experience.
Great point. And another, to go back to another point you just made, Matt, is about you losing your voice. My voice was hoarse right after that, and I now will bring throat lozenges, just like a
Mhm.
Ludens or something, to be able to to coax my, because it was it was just so much talking, and I never realized it wasn't just me. I was hoarse for the entire rest of the conference. So, and I didn't realize that. I guess the acoustics of the D showroom are not going to be as great as obviously as the circus. So hopefully the circus is going to be a lot more spread out, and people won't be having to speak as loud as they did last year. So hopefully that'll help with the hoarse voice thing.
We can keep our fingers crossed. Spanky, one more question before we move on from speed networking. This one, not so much specific to speed networking, but the morning sessions in general. You touched on this a bit earlier, but when it comes to the time of day for Bet Bash sessions, I know that when there's an open bar, when people are having a good time and staying out late, man, those morning hours can come fast. So last year, as you said, the Bookie Better Breakfast was the least attended session. And I'd say having somehow summoned the ability to show up there, it was up there with the very best sessions, but it was a tough turnaround from that Legacy Club cocktail party. And with that dynamic in mind, using that as a learning experience with the benefit of hindsight, as you said, any plans this time around with the morning sessions to be maybe a bit looser with those hours, or free up some of those morning hours for those in attendance at Bet Bash 3?
Yeah, so we're not gonna. So the reason why that Bookie Better Breakfast was the least attended is because the Legacy Club event essentially ended at 2 a.m. And then we had the Bookie Better Breakfast at 10 a.m. So I thought, listen, everybody will still get some. We said if we make it 11, it'll be a Bookie Better brunch. So we made it at 10 a.m. and it wasn't still well attended. All the other night events that we have, Matt, um, we're ending with the Hall of Fame and the VIP cocktail party. So that's going to go up until the wee hours of the morning. But there's nothing to do the next day. That's the last event of Bet Bash. All the other night events are going to pretty much end pretty early. We have a football watch party that'll end at probably 7:30, 7:30. We'll have other uh, the night event. All the open bars ended about 9 or so. So if people want to go out and enjoy Vegas, that's one thing I think about Bet Bash. I never want to flood the schedule too much. I want to give people ample opportunity to enjoy Las Vegas. There's a lot of first timers there, or a lot of people meeting their friends there. They haven't seen in a while. So I don't want to pack it all in and make the schedule. I always have one morning event, one night event, and then whatever you want to do in the middle of the day, that's up to you. So we had some suggestions last year: meet at this bar, meet at that bar, but you know. I'm getting too old, to be drinking all day and night. What I mean? So we kind of, although I know there's a lot of attendees that will just go hardcore. Um, but I need me personally, I just can't do it. So but all the power to you. If you can, God bless you. Knock them out, knock them dead. This is Las Vegas. It doesn't it's the city that doesn't. There's no close. Nothing's closed. There's always a place to get a drink. So enjoy yourself. But the advice I would give is to pace yourself, because you
Mhm.
know I think if you blow your load too fast and too early, then you're kind of going to be missing out on some of the key events later on. It's a long. There's 4 open bars. If you have a VIP ticket, it's 5 open bars over the course of 4 days. So it's a lot. You're going to have enough time. You don't have to get completely plastered. Although some people like to. And listen, I'm not going to tell anybody, you got to be 21 and up. So you're all grown adults here that come to Bet Bash. But if you wanted my advice, I would definitely say to pace yourself and just take it in stride.
Appreciate all the context there. And then one quick follow up before we move on to the first evening session after the opening registration. When we see morning events, if people go to betbash.co and check out some of the details, right now, morning and evening sessions, any specifics you can lend? Does morning mean in some cases, is it 9 or 10? In other cases, it may be 11 or not even technically in the morning, but just the earlier of the two sessions? What might people be able to plan there so that, to your point, aside from the official Bet Bash sessions, there is other room to do other activities in Vegas as well?
Yeah, we're going to try to make the morning sessions go from 9 to 1, probably around there. Speed networking will probably end a little earlier, maybe 9 to noon or something. It all depends, but we want people to go out there because you know people have lunch meetings. People or maybe they might meet somebody at Speed Network. Say, hey, let's go grab lunch. So and in the panels that we have, we're going to have a catered lunch as part of that. Um, and then people want to go and change. We're trying to make this and I keep going ahead of myself, but we'll get to it. But again, we want everybody to pace themselves and to spread it all out and to enjoy it, because downtown Las Vegas is like no other. You can, unlike on the strip where you could go from one casino to another, it takes about 15 minutes to walk from one casino to another. Downtown Vegas, you can hit all the casinos in several minutes. They're all, close to each other, and there's a lot to see. There's a lot to do. It's always happening. The Fremont Street experience. It's a fun and good time, and I urge everybody to soak that all in. That's the original Vegas, and I think it's going to be it's my favorite. Whenever I go to Vegas now, I always stay at the Circa. I've stayed at the D also. It's just the place to be. It's just like I really feel as if it's easier to get around, and it's I really enjoy myself. So.
I know a lot of Bet Bash 3 will be centered at the Circa, but to your point about the D being part of the picture as well, Wednesday, August 9th in the evening, the session will be an open bar cocktail party once again at Bar Canada at the D. Spanky, how's this one going to be different from the night before?
This is just an extension of the previous night, except now, instead of trying to help people sign up for the speed networking, we're going to now focus for people to sign up for Bet Dash, which is the next morning. So we're going to be having a separate line or a separate table there to help people sign up who haven't signed up already. And the cool part about that is that teams will be assigned. We're probably going to be assigning teams as the first night of registration, and the teams are going to be randomly assigned. So you're not going to know who's on your team until you register at that day. And it's going to be a cool thing to be able to walk around and look for people, because we're going to have something that you could look at somebody's badge and know, hey, that's your teammate. Um, and so that's a really cool thing too. It's kind of like an icebreaker built in, where you're looking around and saying, "Hey, we're going to be teammates for the scavenger hunt on the next morning, so or the two mornings from now." And that's a cool thing, and already friendships can build there, and you got, whatever strategies you think you could discuss or whatever. But it's all about building friendships. And again, listen, Matt, you're very personal, you're very outgoing, and you're an extrovert. You run this podcast, it's a great podcast. Not everybody in the sports betting community has the charisma and can talk like you, and that is outgoing like that, and can carry a conversation. You could have a conversation with a broomstick and it'll sound good. Uh, there's people out there that that are just, I saw it at Bet Bash One, and this is kind of why, guys would have that one beer in their hand, their backs against the wall, and if nobody walks up to them, they're not walking up to anybody. And I know these people personally, and I know that they're brilliant, and I know that they're great, and I know they have a lot to offer, but it's hard for them to open up that shell. So I know how it is, and I'm not trying to judge anybody, because we're all different. But if I can aid people to get out of their shell with some of these structured events, social events, and show the world and show the rest of the Bet Bash community that, hey, this guy or this girl has a lot to offer, check them out. That's what it's all about. That's what I want. I want everybody to enjoy themselves, and not I don't want to use the word forced, but a structured networking event like speed networking or like the scavenger hunt is what it's all about for me. I think that's the a way to kind of turn the introverts inside out, and let them show their true skills and talents.
Well, let's keep it rolling right along. You transitioned us perfectly from Wednesday evening into the morning of Thursday, August 10th, as you mentioned, the morning session, Bet Dash, as it's being dubbed, the downtown Las Vegas scavenger hunt. And for some of the reasons you mentioned, maybe not forced, but with the structure, I feel like this is probably an early contender with speed networking to become one of the most polarizing sessions of the event. But I also think that might mean that for some people, it is their dark horse to be one of the most valuable sessions of the entire experience. Spanky, the website, betbash.co, mentions for the scavenger hunt, $20,000 in prizes. So I'm just curious, broad strokes, what kind of prizes are we talking about here? What does the scavenger hunt look like? Just overall, in a nutshell, how's this thing going to work?
So this is going to be cash prizes.
Hmm.
So this is going to be cash, and it's serious. Like, there's going to be as a sports bettor, most sports bettors, from what I understand, Matt, and at least I am, and from what I've recognized, are very competitive. They want to be the best that they could be. They want to win, and they want to play a game. The game is called betting, but here the game is called, figuring stuff out, and they want to win. And this is a contest of wits, of intelligence, of speed. There's so many different parts of it. We're not going to give out too many details, but it's a team effort, and it kind of builds on, you can't succeed alone. You have to be a team, and there's going to be different things you'll have to solve, and different um, um, missions you'll have to accomplish. But at the end of it all, it's kind of like an amazing race type thing meets, where you have to, be fast, efficient, and try to be the best you can be. Um, and it's not always going to be the fastest. We're going to have, of course, there's the top prize is going to be for a team that comes in first, but we're going to have random prizes for people to come in random, different, because we want people to finish the race, so, or finish the hunt, as they say. So we're not going to have it so that the top teams just get prizes. The top teams will get prizes, but we're also going to have one or two prizes that is going to be given to the random team that finishes in 32nd place, for instance, which will be randomized, which will encourage people never to give up, even though they didn't win, because the prizes are still going to be very significant. for those that complete the hunt and that are able to, accomplish something and build something with their teammates. And my office and I have done these things, these team building activities in the past, and we love them. And I believe it's such a great thing. And you know, it was going to be this choice, or we were thinking about doing another just a morning open bar, and I'm like, there's just too much drinking. And as much as we wanted to do that, I was talking it over with my staff, and I said we got to do something different to make people have fun and exciting. And so this is kind of like replacing the bookie better breakfast. Let's do something where people are having fun, and it's and building friendships. And this is what we came up with. And like you said, Matt, we don't know if it's going to be successful, or it's going to be a whammy. We don't know until we find out. But you got to give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. And we have a lot of good planning involved, and I believe that people are going to have a really good time.
And it might be for the best that you didn't opt for the morning open bar, because the evening session on Thursday, August 10th, will be a Circa Sportsbook and Stadium Swim NFL preseason watch party, open bar and food included. And Spanky, it sounds like this time around, both the inside in the Circa Sportsbook as well as outside at Stadium Swim going to be widely accessible for Bet Bash attendees. Is it going to be the VIP sections of both Stadium Swim and the Sportsbook indoors?
Absolutely. We're going to essentially take over the sportsbook indoors, and we're going to have the VIP section of the Stadium Swim. And when people buy their tickets, they're able to choose where they want to go, to Stadium Swim or the sportsbook. But I'm sure that if somebody wanted to go to the swim and then go to the sportsbook, they could go back and forth, etc. But we kind of wanted to kind of allocate where the crowds were this way we can plan accordingly. Last year at Bet Bash, we had two watch parties. Unfortunately, being in August, early August, there's not much going on. There's no shot we're having a baseball watch party. That'll put everybody to sleep. So, but it's kind of exciting. It's not the Hall of Fame game. It's the week right after the Hall of Fame, with a preseason game. And again, nothing too exciting, but it gets the juices rolling. And it's something to do. And listen, people are there not just to watch the games. People are there to have the food. You should remember the spread from last year, Matt, where you'll have all the different foods and the beers galore. And I know you last year, I remember bringing beers of your own.
Mhm.
You had a great time doing that. And again, open bar, whatever you want to drink. Cocktail waitress will be going around. If you want to be in a pool, it's going to be really hot out. So if that's your scene, go right ahead. If you want to stay in the air conditioning, be in a sports book, that's your scene. That's good too. So it accommodates all types of fans, and it's going to be a great watch party, similar to last year's Final Four and championship game watch parties, just combining the two into one.
I have to say, I'm probably going to be tempted to check out both the Stadium Swim experience as well as the VAP section of the sportsbook. But the benefit of the sportsbook option is that, yeah, with that college basketball championship game watch party last year, bringing some of my own craft beers and having a few others do the same, a nice little beer share indoors. Stadium Swim, a little tougher. It's more secure, and I get why they need to maintain that environment in a certain way. But if somebody's going to be indoors during that watch party and want something on the craft beer side of things, just keep an eye out. It'll be after the scavenger hunt, but if you're still willing to do a little bit of hunting, I think we can pretty safely bet that some pretty good special beer will be available during that session as well.
Love it. I remember it, Matt. You brought a stout last year. That was amazing. I enjoyed that with you, and that was very nice. And we had a good time. It was really, really fun. And that's what it's all about, man. We build friendships, and we just enjoy, and we share common interests. Doesn't just have to be sports betting. There's so many other things that we could talk about. Although this is sports betting focused, there's other ways we can kind of expand and build relationships with.
Yeah, I want to fully underscore your point about pacing yourself at an event like this. And sometimes when it is time to cut loose, I know you being a stout guy, I made sure to bring one for you. Last year, that was a stout by the name of Ghost Proton by Bottle Logic Brewing in Anaheim, California. And this one clocks in at 13.5% ABV, a bourbon barrel aged imperial stout, s'mores inspired, basically finished with a lot of marshmallow, graham cracker, cacao nibs. there's a lot going on. So again, if we're pacing ourselves, then we're not going to have heavy doses of beers like this, but it's fun to mix those in once in a while and really just add to the overall Bet Bash experience.
Absolutely. If you got enough chicken wings, you could do it. You could have any beer you want as long as you line it up with, with enough food and that's the thing. So, yeah, it was great and I enjoyed it. And again, the spread that the Circa does, kudos to them. They really do a great job. Really making everybody feel welcome. And I thought the service last year was incredible. The spread was incredible. Everybody just had a great time, and I definitely can't wait to see how they do this year.
Likewise. And right after that, there's going to be plenty more to still look forward to because Friday, August 11th, morning session, expert panels with a lunch buffet. Spanky, at this stage, I know we're still a couple months out, but what can you tell us about some of the topics, panelists, and moderators that attendees can expect at the panels this time around?
So last year I was part of a panel, and me and Mac Metcalf, we helped. He helps me design the panels. He takes the lead on most of these panels. And I was telling Matt, listen, I wanted to do one panel, just I didn't really want to do a panel. Matt kind of convinced me to do it last year, and I'm happy. Then I'm like, okay, I'm retired from panels. I just want to plan the event. But then, of course, Billy Walters is going to be at Bet Bash, and I, I was talking to Matt, and he goes, "Listen, if we do a Be Better Betters with Billy Walters, there's nobody that I can't say no, and I got to ask him, and if he says no, then it's okay." But I asked him, he goes, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." So there's going to be a live Be Better Betters. With Billy Walters as my guest, the world's greatest sports better ever, and this will not be released in podcast form. This will not be aired anywhere. It's only going to be special for Bet Bash attendees. Again, we might release it years and years down the road, but for any of the short time being, this will never be shown to anybody. And trust me, I'm not going to ask him how life growing up was. I'm going to get to the, to some good questions that I think everybody will enjoy, and that I think that we'll all be able to come and take something away. So that's kind of the headline panel there. That we've and we're still sorting out all the other ones, but that's the headline, and we're going to have a nice buffet lunch. It's not going to be chili dogs this year like it was last year. We're going to have a really nice catered lunch, top notch this time around. We learned our lesson last year. We had the panels, and then we had the chili dogs. We had hot dogs, and then the second set of panels, the room started smelling a little bit more funky, obviously. So we wanted to change that up a little bit, and so we went with a nice we went a little bit a higher grade and ditched the dogs.
All right, yeah, you got ahead of one of my questions, which was going to be trying to politely address the issue, but note that the feedback on the food from last year's panels was mixed. So any details you could share on what this lunch buffet would look like sounded like we might be in store for quite the upgrade.
Absolutely, it's going to be the top notch, um, top notch, and circa. I made sure now when the 11th is, it's we're going to get top notch food in the 11th all day on the 11th. So yeah, it's going to be great, and we're going to have I think one or two panels, then a nice lunch break, and then another one or two panels. One of them being which the Billy Walters Be Better Betters episode live.
And it's tough to call out a singular can't miss event when we're talking about this kind of itinerary. We're not even too close to being done with it yet, but I will say that this has got to be on the short list. The live Billy Walters interview that's exclusive to Bet Bash attendees. Spanky, you first posted on Twitter when the arrangements for this had been finalized that when you first started your podcast, Billy Walters was the guest you dreamt of having on. And I think part of that's obvious. He's a big get as he's widely considered the best better of all time. But I'm wondering, based on your own background and your anticipation for this interview, if there's anything that you think might actually surprise some people about why this is such a big moment for you personally.
Yeah, well, Billy Walters has always been. I just met Billy, less than a year ago, and he's always been one of those mythical, legends in the business. I always had new friends that knew him. Never spoke to him until just last year, and I've been doing this now for 23 years, 24 years even. So it's like, I hear the name, you know the reputation, you know the legend that is Billy Walters. And, when I run a podcast, I take pride in bringing the world's best bookmakers and sports bettors on my podcast. Um, there is no better in the world than Billy Walters. Historically speaking, he has been there, done that many times over. And he kept evolving and doing what he needed to do to stay on top. And it's great. You know what I mean? This is somebody that you kind of want to emulate. I didn't have all the answers coming up being a pro sports better. But you look to the greats. Who's the best sports better out there? Billy Walters. Okay, what does he do? Let me copy or try to copy. It's impossible to copy him, but let me try to emulate what he does. And I try to essentially use the Billy Walters um, wisdom of the crowds format, where Billy Walters would surround himself with some of the top handicappers in the world, and he would essentially, if there was a consensus or if there was people that two or three of these guys liked the same game, he would jump all over it. Um, but if there was opposition, he would stay away from it, and he would just look because you can have one guy could have a bad season, but to have two or three, really, really good handicappers having a bad year, it's so rare. That's why Billy Walters has had, losing sessions, has might have had losing weeks or months, but he's never had a losing season. And we're the same way. We've never had a losing season because of what I learned and what I've seen Billy Walters do. And I haven't even learned, I just emulated. Essentially, he wrote the playbook. I'm just trying to figure out, how I can best fit that to my business. And I'll never get, if I could get 1/100th of the success he's had, I'd be lucky. So we just try our best and by learning from the best.
Building on that answer a little bit, I know that Billy Walters has recently done some media with Brent Musburger. He's been on 60 Minutes in the past. He's also got a memoir scheduled to be released August 22nd, if I've done my homework correctly. So, Spanky, I'm wondering how you think this interview will be different than other Billy Walters interviews that people may have seen him do in the past, and how it can go beyond book promotion for him.
Well, the biggest difference, and Brett Musburger's last interview was great, but the biggest difference I think when it comes to this is Billy Walters is going to be interviewed by a professional sports bettor, myself, and I'm going to get into the weeds where people wouldn't even know, wouldn't know how to get into the weeds. So I'm going to be asking some strategy questions. I'm going to be asking questions on how, what he thinks of this or that. It's not going to be big picture more so. It's going to be getting into the weeds, trying to get as much actionable information. And to frankly speaking, hopefully he slips up and gives us a couple of nuggets because Billy Walters doesn't slip up too often. And then he's very, very calculated. But hopefully, if we get him opening up and he knows it's just for that crowd and it's only internal and this isn't going to be publicized everywhere, maybe he'll give us something that we can take home and kind of learn from. So that's all. Again, I'm not the best interviewer in the world, but I don't even think I'm a good interviewer. But when it comes to sports betting, I know what I want to have answered, and if people enjoy my other interviews, interviewing other sports bettors, then I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy this one.
And I think it's indisputable that you're uniquely qualified to ask him some questions that can lead to some pretty insightful answers for those in attendance. That said, asking for a friend here, is there potentially going to be any opportunity for those in the audience to perhaps pepper in a question or two at some point as well?
Absolutely. Um, and not just peppering a question, Matt. There's going to be opportunity to go meet Billy. I told Billy, I said, listen, you understand that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to shake your hand, and his response was, and I'm going to want to shake their hand. No, that's his exact line. Um, you know, look, all the proceeds of this book is going to charity. He's not making a dime on this. This isn't about he goes, everything I know. This is exactly his line. Everything he knows, he put into this book. He's been there, done that. Still bets till this day, but he wants to be able to put it out there and do this to set the record straight on a few things and give back to the community in some other ways. And also why not? Like, there's it's what other professional sports bettors at that level, or at even half of that level, or a quarter of that level, have written a book on their memoir, their life. It's long overdue, and I'm so happy. And when I found out about this book through a mutual friend several years ago, and this is several years in the making. So it's pretty exciting. I can't wait to read it. Unfortunately, it'll be coming out after Bet Bash. Um, but Billy, he's going to be doing a lot of you know book tours and stuff leading up, right, between Bet Bash and the release date. So we're happy to have him. And of course, as you know, Matt, he was one of the three names already mentioned as inductees into the Sports Gaming Hall of Fame, which I'm sure we'll get into now when you get a chance.
Yeah, we'll get into that very shortly. I do have to throw in one more question on the panels. You have extended an open invitation to sportsbook employees to debate the rec versus sharp model. And quickly off the top, could you give your point of view on how you think of the differences between the rec and sharp models?
Well, you know, the analogy I always gave, and I don't know if I've given this to you also, Matt, is I always give this analogy of a flood, where
Hmm.
where you own a house, let's just say in Seattle, where it rains every day. And not that that's what I just hear. If anybody lives in Seattle out there, don't get offended. But where it's always raining and your basement's always flooded, there's two ways to solve the problem. And this rainwater, of course, in the analogy, is your sharp sports better. The sharp sports better is always going to come. You might be able to kick him out. You might hire a bucket brigade, cheap labor to scoop out the water, and then the next day it'll come back. You'll have to hire that cheap labor, scoop it out. Next day, it's never going to stop. They'll always find the way in. The rain will never end. The sharp sports better will always keep coming back. So you can either hire this cheap labor, never really solve the problem except temporarily, or what you could do instead is hire an engineer. An engineer in this example is the competent bookmaker, your talented bookmaker that is able to change the leveling of the house to divert that rainwater and use it to their advantage. Essentially, a sharp bookmaker using this information from the sharp sports better to their advantage to be able to make more money for the sports book. Now, can this happen overnight? Of course not. To be able to change the leveling of a house, it takes a lot of there's a lot of expense, there's a lot of time. To hire a talented bookmaker or an engineer in this analogy is very expensive. It's not just a couple of guys off the street, scooping buckets of water out. No. So it's expensive, but in the long run, I believe, and you've seen it, um, uh, it is successful. This is exactly what the Circa model has done, and Circa is very successful at what they've been doing. This is exactly what the Pinnacle model has done. They're able to hire talented bookmakers to be able to use the sharp information to their advantage, adjust the line accordingly, and then to be able to turn a profit. Sure, their hold percentages is a lot less, but who cares if you have more volume? And that's the name of the game. You'd rather hold a percent of a billion than 5% of a million, or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like you want to be able to um, make it so that the sharp action becomes an asset, not a liability.
Very well said. And I think coming from you as the creator of Bet Bash, that makes it pretty clear that an event like this will cater to a pretty sharp crowd on both sides of the counter. So, Spanky, for people from rec books considering accepting your open invitation, how might they be assured that they're not going to be walking into a hornet's nest?
Well, last year we had DraftKings. Johnny Vello was there, who's a friend of mine. He was there. We had Jason Scott from MGM. They both participated in panels, and there was some heated debate in some of those panels, but they walked away unstung. There was no hornets. You know what I mean? People asked questions, and nothing happened. We're all in the same industry together, Matt, and I think that we should be able to have open debate. This is not an ambush. Nothing like that. Nobody's going to disrespect anybody, at least not on my watch. Um, and we could agree to disagree. That's okay, but maybe talk it over. Talk about why. I'm sure sharp sports books or sports books that cater to sharp customers can learn a lot from rec sports books, and rec sports books I think can learn a lot from sharp sports books. I think that both can learn from each other, and I think players should be able to ask, because these sports books don't exist without us, the customers, the betters. So I think us betters should be able to address or maybe make suggestions or ask, why do you do this, why do you do that? You know, it just we should be able to ask these questions, and I think that it just, it's doesn't it should, any sports book, whether rec or sharp, should be jumping on this opportunity where I'm inviting you to be able to face your customers, even face your customers, some of the customers that you might not want as customers, or that you might maybe have pushed away, that you might want to maybe welcome back, that you might maybe think that, hey, maybe I could use them to my advantage somehow. Maybe I could, bring on that engineering team and make that rainwater work for me. So hey, you only could dream. I'm still waiting for somebody to. So if anybody's listening to this, and if you're a rec sports book, the invitation remains open. If you want to come to Bet Bash and participate, we'll be happy to have you.
All right. Well, I'm sure myself, plenty of other attendees will stand by eagerly for more information on the panels taking place at Bet Bash 3 on the morning of Friday, August 11th. We know that Billy Walters interview going to be a can't miss event. And Spanky, speaking of can't miss events, the afternoon slash evening, I guess we could say, of Friday, August 11th, the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame's first induction ceremony, 6 to 10 p.m., including an open bar and a four-course dinner. I want to get more into the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame in a later segment, but for now, can you give a quick description of what this will entail as a tease for those who are considering buying tickets if they haven't done so already?
So this is going to be, we're gonna, and it's sort of, I built a committee, that a 16-person committee that has inducted 10 individuals, 5 in memoriam and 5 living, into the inaugural class of the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame. The Sports Gambling Hall of Fame is a physical presence. It's going to be located inside the Circus Sportsbook, to the left of the ticket windows, um, and it's going to resemble. It's going to be modeled after the Stardust Handicappers Library. There's going to be an enclave there that's going to have the plaques of the Hall of Famers, and it's going to just show. We're going to try to have some type of interactive display there to kind of learn about the Hall of Famers. Um, I, to get behind, this is something, Matt. This is my life. This is all I know, right? So I can't, if I'm a baseball player, imagine playing baseball and you remember all the greats, but there's no Hall of Fame there. It just doesn't make sense. So I believe that um, I looked up to Billy Walters, even though I didn't know him. I looked up to what he's done and the fear that he's caused and the respect that he's attained in this business, and he should be honored. Guys like Billy Walters should be honored, um, for what they've done. And and if that's not the case, if there's nothing there that's honoring a Billy Walters, then I'm going to do my best to create it, because he deserves, his legacy deserves to be preserved, for decades, years and years, hundreds of whatever, how long it lasts, way after you and I are gone. For people to understand, as the sports gambling industry evolves, who are the OGs? And when I say OGs, I mean original gamblers, of this industry.
All right. Well, I think plenty from a physical standpoint. You talk about that physical presence going to lead to a lot of unforgettable experiences for those who get a chance to witness it at any point. And I think there are going to be some unforgettable experiences to come shortly after the induction ceremony as well. For those with VIP tickets, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., heading straight up to the Legacy Club for a VIP closing cocktail party. Once again, an open bar. And Spanky, I don't think I need to ask you to correct me if I'm wrong. I can say pretty confidently this is the only thing that VIP ticket holders will get that general admission ticket holders won't have access to. And just to clarify, there's going to be a dress code in effect for the Legacy Club, correct?
Absolutely, we're going to try to, we're going to recommend the dress code for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony as well. You know, I'm going to come in a tuxedo, and my staff is going to be tuxed out for the Hall of Fame and the Legacy Club. We're going to recommend, we're going to black tie recommended, but it's optional. You know what I mean? You want to look good. Legacy Club won't let you up unless you're in proper attire. This is a big moment. This is the inaugural Sports Gambling Hall of Fame class. So I'm gonna do my best and dress appropriately. This is a big day, and I think that this is to honor the legends that have come before us, that have paved the way, and then to carry the party, because after a nice Hall of Fame induction ceremony, why not extend that party further, and this time. Have the Legacy Club now go from a 10 p.m. Last year we did it from 8 p.m. to midnight. This time we'll do it from a 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Um, and we kind of want to do it as late as possible, because that summer breeze, given that it's in August and the Legacy Club, a lot of it's outdoor, some of it's outdoors, some of it's indoors, but hopefully that nice, summer breeze at 10 p.m. ish, late at night, and won't be as hot, obviously, and it's a lot more bearable. So pretty excited about that. Again, the VI, like you said, Matt, that's the only thing. VIP tickets. I love to have every Bet Bash attend the Legacy Club. Unfortunately, due to capacity issues, we just can't have everybody up there. So that's why we made it a VIP only event, and it's an extra couple $100. But again, it's just not just an open bar. It's another opportunity, your final opportunity, to be able to mingle with fellow sports bettors. But if you're on a budget and you don't want to go there, and not just fellow sports bettors, legends as well, because everybody that's going to be in the Hall of Fame that night, and relatives and dignitaries and committee members, and everybody will be at that VIP Legacy Club. So that's the time where it's going to be a little bit more of an intimate setting, where you can go and meet some of these legends, if you so desire. That being said, if you don't go to the Legacy Club, I'm sure that there will be some type of thing that we will. It won't be an open bar, but we'll kind of push, or suggests people meet at a location after the induction ceremony, for the party to continue on, for those that are not going to the Legacy Club, to be able to just meet and have a good time, um, and keep the party going.
I appreciate all that context, and it's good to know you and your team are going to be dressed to the nines. And I would say that if the forecast permits, hopefully we can get maybe that summer breeze. Maybe it can be a brisk 80 to 85 degrees come 10 p.m. on Friday, August 11th, up at the top of the circa at the Legacy Club. But for those who won't be dressed in a suit and tie, just be sure so that you can get in. If you're paying for this party, you don't want to be rejected at the door because you did not dress accordingly. Just to make sure our bases are covered, I've looked this up from the Legacy Club's website. The dress code is elegant casual, and their words: we ask that gentlemen be in clean and well-maintained closed-toed shoes, swimwear, sandals, athletic and cargo shorts, ball caps and knit hats, graphic/worn tees, sports apparel, hooded sweatshirts, exceedingly torn clothing, and athletic shoes are not permitted. So I think we'll see plenty of suits and ties, but even for those who take it a bit more casual, just make sure that you're able to get through the door and fully enjoy that unforgettable evening.
Exactly. Just if you want to come to the induction ceremony, just follow that Legacy Club thing, and everything should be fine. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not gonna. You guys, Bet Bash is a paid event, so we want to make sure that we're gonna do our best to make sure everybody gets in, but we're gonna give fair warning to everybody, like you said, because this is the circus policy, and we have to adhere to circus policy. They want to keep the Legacy Club as top notch as possible, and kind of make sure that it maintains its high standards. So who am I to tell the circuit that we can't do that? That we have to adhere to that, and why not? You know what I mean? It's nice to be able to get dressed up. This is, if you're a sports gambler and you want to honor the Hall of Famers and have a good time, and why, all the other days of Bet Bash, you could dress any way you want, but if there's one night we could all get dressed up and have a good time, why not?
Absolutely. And Spanky, well, that will conclude the official itinerary for Bet Bash 3. I know that last year, Alan Boston hosted a screening of California Split the evening before the opening night registration. I realize we're still a couple months out, but I'm just wondering, for those who might be able to get in town a little bit early, any unofficial events on the radar for Bet Bash 3 as well?
Not just yet. There's a couple of groups that might be meeting up. Nothing official, but I'm sure people are going to meet, and there's going to be. We might even create some type of Discord or something or other that'll have Bet Bash group meetings or something. We'll figure something out. For people that arrive early to keep the party, to start the party early, and for people that are leaving late, maybe after that, to say, hey, you guys want to meet up or something. Listen, it's all about, we want to try to make it, this is a once a year thing, and we want to aid everybody. And you know the one compliment, the best compliment you could ever get, that I got last year, is this one guy came up to me and goes, you know what the worst thing about Bet Bash is? And I said, what? He goes, it had to end. And that's, he doesn't get better than that. So I can't wait to make new friends, and see everybody, and have a good time. And it's been a long time coming.
Indeed. Well, Spanky, I would like to go in rapid fire succession through this agenda as a summary. So if somebody wasn't furiously jotting down notes or hasn't been to the website yet, they can just absorb it in podcast form. And while I want to do this in rapid fire fashion, I don't want to give short shrift to the agenda that you've put together. So it might be a minute or two, but here goes. Kicking off Tuesday, August 8th, 6 to 9 p.m., opening night registration cocktail party at Bar Canada at the D, including an open bar this time around. Wednesday, August 9th, morning session, speed networking at Circa. In the evening, another opening, not an opening registration, but an open bar cocktail party, once again at Bar Canada at the D. Thursday, August 10th, in the morning, we've got Bet Dash, a downtown Las Vegas scavenger hunt, $20,000 in cash prizes on the line. In the evening, the Circa Sportsbook and Stadium Swim football watch party, open bar and food included. And then Friday, August 11th, taking it home all at Circa. In the morning, expert panels, including that can't miss Billy Walters interview, lunch buffet included. 6 to 10 p.m., Hall of Fame induction ceremony, open bar, and 4-course dinner included. And then from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., VIP Legacy Club closing cocktail party. Almost got through it without a tongue twister there. Once again, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., VIP Legacy Club closing cocktail party. Open bar included, VIP only, not included in general admission tickets if you're looking for that final Legacy Club party to wrap up Bet Bash 3. Spanky, took me a minute, stumbled a time or two, but I think we got all our bases covered. Am I missing anything there?
No, you hit it all in the head, Matt, and you do a great job. And I really appreciate you supporting the event and spreading the word out there to your listeners. And it means a lot to me, and I can't wait to me see everybody out there.
Likewise. Well, let me give you a countdown that last year I think I counted down from 5 to 1 and it got a good response. This year, not the same exact countdown, but similar concept. If we want to run through Bet Bash 3 by the numbers, I've got this here, Spanky. $20,000 in cash prizes via the scavenger hunt, 10 sports gambling Hall of Famers to be inducted, 8 sessions in all, 5 open bars if you've got a VIP ticket, 4 for general admission. And I think that all adds up to 1 week you're not going to want to miss.
Love it, Matt. What a great job. I love that. I can't wait. And come out, give it a shot, and I promise you won't be disappointed.
Spanking, now that we've covered the agenda, if I may, I know we're a bit over an hour here. I want to respect your time, but also make sure that from somebody like you, people can really understand why, if they're on the fence, they probably want to give very serious consideration to getting a ticket, booking their trip to Las Vegas. A couple of logistical components here. Let's start with the tickets themselves. First time we're seeing tiered admission for Bet Bash. General admission right now priced at $699, including Eventbrite fees. Totals about $740 all in. VIP $899 subtotal, including fees. It's about $955 all in. Once again, the only difference: the VIP cocktail party on closing night. Spanky, aside from the capacity constraints at Legacy Club that final evening, was there any rationale behind the new tiered ticketing structure for Bet Bash?
Yeah, we because Legacy Club, we have to limit the number of people. So we can't bring everybody up there. So we want, if you wanted to come up to Legacy Club, you're gonna have to pay extra. That's the reason being. We would have made it a one price if we could fit everybody in there, but the Legacy Club is such a big hit last year that we had to make it part of the event. Last year we had capacity issues because of the D, so it matched the Legacy Club capacity. This year, those capacity issues don't exist because we're using the Circa ballroom now. So we kind of opened it up so that more people can enjoy Bet Bash. But if you want to enjoy that beautiful Legacy Club cocktail party, it's just going to come at
Mhm.
an additional cost.
Understood. And speaking of the cost, if I recall correctly, last year tickets were priced right around $500, and that would make GA this year coming at about a 40% increase, VIP at about an 80% increase. Spanky, what's the rationale behind that price increase when we're looking at Bet Bash 3 as opposed to Bet Bash 2?
Well, we've upgraded and several extra open bars. The food, the Hall of Fame dinner in and of itself, that's the most
Mhm,
expensive part of it because it's a served dinner. There's staff that we have to pay for. Four course. This is not we wanted not didn't want to make it a buffet dinner. That dinner we wanted to make it very nice. Um, and on top of it, last year, Matt, we took a loss running Bet Bash. Just on the event and by all means, listen, I didn't do this to become an event planner and make money planning events, but I'm also not allergic to making money. And
mhm,
I want to, if I'm able to turn a profit running these types of events with all the hard work we put in, why not? So this is the kind of number that we're able to make work with the Circa to be able to kind of make it just economically viable for us. Open bars are not cheap. Food is not cheap. Staff, the whole gamut. The one thing I will say though is if you guys are looking to book hotel rooms, we
mhm.
do have two links on our website where Circa and the D are giving the best rates possible. So check us out there, and there's links to book those hotels on the website betbash.co.
Yeah, and I'll touch on that in a moment as well. I think it's very important to note that if you're booking a stay, you're probably going to be hard pressed to get a better deal than those Circa and the D specials through betbash.co. Spanky, I appreciate once again the context you've shared when I asked you about the price increase. Very fair point of view for having these numbers come out to what they are totaling for Bet Bash 3. And when you talk about making this economically viable, for yourself, for the Circuit team, is there any outlook of at least making a small profit this time around as opposed to taking a loss once again like last year?
Great question, Matt, and I won't know until all tickets are sold. We anticipate trying to make a profit, but we just don't know. We try to, again, making a profit. The profit that we made last year on Bet Bash didn't come from ticket sales; it came from people we met.
Mhm,
And that's just how it is. So and that's why it's worth it for us. Taking a loss on the event is okay because we make connections,
mhm.
and those connections turn into betting partnerships, which turn into the crux of my business. So it's okay, but we don't want to take a full bath. Don't get me, but still, we want to make some money. And I think that we do a pretty good job. You know what I mean? I think we earned the respect of the community, and we kind of have proven ourselves to run a good event and to kind of bring out the best of the best. And there's nobody else that does it. You know what I mean? So it's pretty easy. I don't want to toot my horn too much, but it's pretty easy being the best when you're the only one. Like there's no other sports betting conference out there. So but that doesn't make me rest on my laurels and say, okay, we just gotta bring them and just make them kind of happy. No, I want to make everybody super happy and the reviews to be rave reviews and everybody to come out of there saying, man, that was the best $700 I've ever spent in my life. Um, and I know it's 700, 900. You mentioned, Matt. I can't tell you how many people have told me that you are not charging enough. And that there's something to be said about that too. But because in sports gambling, in order to succeed in sports betting, connections are everything. Relationships are everything. This is what it's all about. If I just was able to operate by myself, I would no longer be a professional sports bettor. I would be a banned sports bettor from every sports book, and I would be out of business. And I could just talk about the good old times and just run Bet Bash maybe 4 times a year and water it down because I would actually need that income. But no, I rely on relationships that have gotten me through. And that's what it comes down to: relationships in any business, but more so in sports gambling than anything. And that's why I press this conference so much.
I think that the point you brought up that maybe resonated with me as much as anything in this conversation so far is that while financially you might have taken a bit of a hit last year, it was still a profitable event when you think of it through the prism of the relationships that you built. Reminds me of something that I heard, geez, probably a year or so ago. I still think about often from another Bet Bash attendee, pro better Rufus Peabody. He often thinks in terms of life EV, not just plus or minus EV on a spreadsheet, but what you're getting out of it from a quality of life standpoint. And I think that same rationale for why it was worth it for you last year, and even again this year, if you happen to take a small loss, the relationships that you're building, that same rationale can apply to anybody who's attending this event as well. And in a sense, while we've got a couple months till the event begins, the clock is sort of ticking. I saw you post today on Twitter, Spanky, that prices will be increasing for Bet Bash tickets on Friday, June 16th at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time. Any details you can share with us behind that increase in price that's coming fairly shortly here?
Well, it just just like airline, when there's a lot of demand, and there's we have to try to make sure that we're trying to not take too much of a loss, and we believe that given what you're getting, we believe we underpriced the tickets. So and we believe that this is kind of like the early bird pricing. um and we believe the early bird pricing, which lasts for several months, we don't want to maintain that. We believe there's just it's just a business decision. That being said, we're not gonna sweep the rug from under anyone's feet. We gave a 10-day warning, so in 10 days the prices will go up, and then they'll probably go up even after that. So that's just how it is. I urge everybody, if you want to take advantage, um, buy your tickets in the next 10 days. If you want to procrastinate, that's okay too. But you're gonna have to pay a little extra, which is fine. Some people can't make plans that much at a time, but you know, we're like you said, Matt, we're 60 days out now, less than 60 days out. Oh no, we're about 60 days out now. So by the time we increase the prices, it's going to be 50 something days out, 55, 54 days out, whatever it is. So it's you know it's just a purely business decision. um and I thought about it long and hard, and I felt as if it was the right decision to make.
Makes plenty of sense. And Spanky, I know you're putting plenty of thought into growing this event as strategically as possible with the big picture in mind. I feel like there's an interesting balance in play between quantity and quality. And I think that there's something to be said for the value and a more intimate setting. That said, growing this, making it viable and sustainable, there are logical steps that you are taking and can continue to take. How do you approach growing Bet Bash without reducing, let's call it, the ROI for each person who attends in terms of the access they can have to everything they might want to get out of the event?
Well, I'm looking to keep it in the circus. Circus is going to be our home. You know what I mean? And we want to make it so that we don't want to overflood this. It's not about, again, I'll never be a professional party planner or a party expert. That's not me. I'm a professional sports bettor. I just happen to be a pro sports bettor that you know plan these parties out of necessity, and out of interest, out of love for the business, and out of necessity to make connections. um so I know that I wouldn't want to go to a conference where there's thousands of people roaming, where you're you're a drop in the bucket. Whereas, we want to keep it big enough to be able to make it viable and economically sound, but we want to make it small enough to make it so that you're not just another number. You're a name, and people recognize you, and you make friends, and you can walk up to people, and it's not too overwhelming. So again, I don't know what the future holds, and I don't want to commit to not growing and growing and growing. But that's not my intention. I don't want to make this so many thousands of people. Just that's not me. You know what I mean? I don't want to. It's too overwhelming. This is hard enough as it is. Um, I wanna bring, again, depending on the demand, but I wanna make sure that the sports bettors that decide to do this get, like you said, Matt, get their money's worth and get the good bang for their buck, and and that's what it's all about.
Love it. Well, Spanky, if I may, one more thought on Bet Bash, then I can fire away on the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame and SpankOdds. You're up to all sorts of things these days, but I'd like to swing back to your earlier points about the hotel promos being offered exclusively through betbash.co for Circa and the D for those who will be attending. And I came across an interesting Twitter thread recently where somebody was kind of considering which hotel to choose. And there was a lot of good commentary from other people there. I can't remember offhand who had posted the thread, or I'd give credit where it's due. But I think one of the bigger cases for Circa would be that it's just such a stellar hotel. It's the nicer of the two properties. And I'll add that for those who can, for Bet Bash or any other time, get a room with a stadium swim view, that is a bucket list experience. And also this time around, Circa more of a home base, closer to a majority of the sessions. So plenty going for those who want to look at staying at Circa. The D, I will say it is much less expensive. And I'm talking about a third the cost last time I checked. And while it's a much cheaper hotel, it is a more than adequate hotel based on my experience. So, personally, with my own equation, I have opted to stay at the D this time around. And I'm using the cost savings on the hotel side of things to upgrade from flying commercial to semi private with some money to spare, going Jet Suite X from Burbank to Vegas for the first time. Actually, full circle to our speed networking conversation. Last year, I connected with Jason Weingart Spreadopedia, and I believe he was doing the same thing. And it just got me thinking along those lines where maybe upgrading from Southwest to JSX for my flights could be a little more valuable than the upgrade from the D to Circa from a hotel standpoint. So I know that everybody's preferences in financial situations are different. Overall, you can't go wrong either way. Just wanted to shed a bit of context on the different dynamics in play and two really good options at exclusive rates through the Bet Bash website.
Great points, Matt. Completely agree. It's that's why we put both hotels up there. You choose whatever you want to choose, and you said the D's a lot less expensive. So whatever fits your budget. And we want to accommodate everybody.
Indeed. Well, Spanky, I would love to weave in the Malinsky Minute, a pillar of this podcast, as a nod to the late, great sports betting legend, David Malinsky. He was known around town not just for his sports betting prowess, but especially at Lotus of Siam, a world renowned Thai restaurant. He was known there as Friday Dave for his big takeout orders every football Friday. He would just go up and down the Lotus of Siam menu and take stuff home. And that was basically his sustenance, as he wouldn't leave the house from Friday afternoon to Monday morning, really diligently handicapping, but making sure that he was properly fueling himself each step of the way. In fact, I'll note that at Bet Bash 2, one of my highlights, an unofficial event, but we dubbed it the David Malinsky Memorial Lunch at Lotus of Siam. I was able to sneak away for a bit with bettor and attorney and fellow Bet Bash attendee Mike Roselli, alongside Pro Bettor Las Vegas Chris and Mitch Moss and Polly Howard from VSiN. We had a great lunch at Lotus, and I'm starting to think about maybe trying to do something bigger and better at Lotus of Sam once again the week of Bet Bash 3. But Spanky, aside from Lotus, Vegas is just such a great food town, and I'm wondering with Bet Bash coming up, aside from the official agenda, a lot of good spots people could squeeze in from a dining perspective. What would you say are some of your top go-to dining destinations when you're in Las Vegas?
So Lotus is not just the best Thai restaurant in Las Vegas. I think it's the best Thai restaurant in the country. It's rated. It's that good. Um, my go-to steakhouse, believe it or not, is Andiamo's at the D,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had so many different steaks in Vegas, and I've been to all of them, the W and the big ones, Barry's. And for some reason, Andiamo's, I never had a bad steak there. It's consistent, just consistence, and that's big for me, consistence. So I love Andiamo's. There's just the restaurants are there's just so many, and I just I I don't want to. Off the top of my head, I could we could probably have another episode just on this, Matt. To be honest, but just to stay in the downtown district, there's another Thai restaurant down the block on Fremont Street. I forgot the name of it, but we had
Lei
lunch.
Tai, I
There it
think.
is. That's it. Yeah, Late Thai, which is very good. Not Lotus as I am standards, but so solid
Mm-hmm.
and a lot more economical and great. And it's a walking distance from your hotel, so that was great. When it comes to pizza down there, Evil Pie or is just incredible pizza. And I'm from Jersey, New York area, where we have the best pizza in the world, Brooklyn. But the Evil Pie, man, I couldn't believe how good that was. Um, based on Evil Knievel. It's a pizza joint
Mhm.
that's based on all Evil Knievel memorabilia and stuff, and I just love that. It was great. I so the list goes on, but I invite everybody to try different things and explore. Always every time I'm in Vegas, I always like to try something new, always just to expand my horizons.
And not just on a dining front, but that's I feel like an open invitation to weave in the hops. I know you tend to be a single malt Scotch and stout guy. Last year when we previewed Bet Bash, you mentioned Oak and Ivy, which is an American
Oh,
craft whiskey cocktail bar. Hopefully, we can find a way to sneak away and make that happen this time around. Spanky, would you say that there's anything that comes to mind when you think of a drinking experience that you are most anticipating as part of Bet Bash 3?
so the bartenders at the Legacy Club are honestly world renowned. They're some of the best bartenders ever. These guys, Dominic up there, Dom, he's won worldwide competitions in mixology. Like they're unbelievable up there, and they make some of the best craft cocktails I've ever had. They take pride in that. Oak and Ivy is like you just mentioned is such a great place. Handcrafted cocktails that you can't find anywhere else using fresh ingredients, and that's what it comes down to. Not just the mixologist, but the ingredients are just so fresh. So I really, really enjoy those two spots. Um, and a good old fashioned or a nice house drink that they have is just it's second to none there. So I really am looking forward to enjoying some cocktails. I might stop by Oak and Ivy if I get to Bet Bash early. I'll definitely let's do some. And hopefully, Matt, if you get there early, let's try to get out there. The night or two before to try to have a few drinks.
Yep, I will be in Vegas on Monday the 7th, so if there's an opportunity to sneak away at some point there,
Love
then,
it.
count me in for sure.
Love it. Love it.
All right, well, Spanky, I know we teased the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame a bit. I don't wanna give it short shrift. It is such an impressive feat that you have created in the year and change since the last Bet Bash, and we know that that's gonna be the capstone event of Bet Bash 3. Without putting the cart before the horse, would also love to see if we could get a little bit of your insight behind the origin story and what really compelled you to go ahead and create the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame, knowing that something called the Sports Betting Hall of Fame is already in existence.
Yeah. Just to go back to what I said, the Sports Betting Hall of Fame. That's more. It's created by SBC, and I know the people that run that. And it's nice. There's a lot of my friends are in the Hall of Fame there, and it's just that I don't think that really focuses on betters. We kind of want to focus both on bookmakers and betters. And for me, you can't have a sports betting or a sports gambling Hall of Fame without one guy. Before I even started this, I went to Billy Walters and I said, "Listen, I'm looking to build a sports gambling Hall of Fame. If and most likely because you have to get inducted, you have to receive a 75% approval rating." I said, "Billy, most likely you will be inducted. But in order to be inducted, you'll have to agree to be inducted." And I said, "If inducted, will you agree?" And he says, "Yes." And that's when I said, "Okay," because you cannot have in my opinion, a sports gambling Hall of Fame without BW. Like, you know what I mean? You cannot have a baseball Hall of Fame without Babe Ruth. Just can't happen. You know what I mean? That's it. It just doesn't it doesn't exist. It shouldn't exist. And it's just not that's the best of the best. And Billy Walters told me, he goes, "Listen, Spanky, I don't put my name just on anything. So I want to make sure that people that get inducted into this are Hall of Fame caliber." And I told him, so the way it works, Matt, is I built a committee of 16 people. Now, newly inducted Hall of Famers will then be invited to join this committee so that it will
Mm.
organically grow. And then now the committee then will vote on the next class and the next class and the next class. And that's how it grows. Whereas Hall of Famers now become the committee. So with the current committee, and who knows better than who should be a Hall of Famer than other Hall of Famers. And I made sure that I do not hold a vote in any of this. So Spanky, oh yeah, Spanky, oh why'd you put this guy in Hall of Fame? I didn't put anybody. Number one, you need a 75% approval rating by anonymous vote, and I don't vote. I don't even. We have an independent third party website that tallies the votes. I don't vote. I just administer the whole thing because I believe as if I don't want people to look at me and say, "Oh, listen, you're running this, and you choose who go." I don't choose anything. I don't want to choose. I have such a competent committee that I built that is able to that I think has way more experience than I ever will have, and that I respect so much that are able to build this thing and build a Hall of Fame that we all could be proud of.
I tried to do as much homework as I could for this conversation, Spanky. I may have missed it, but this might be a Props and Hops exclusive that committee of 16 is going to grow, kind of like the Heisman, I believe, where every new Hall of Famer then becomes a voting member moving forward. So I'm not sure if that's rolled out anywhere, but I hear you on the structure. It just makes sense that if somebody's in the Hall of Fame, then who's better qualified than them to have input into future Hall of Fame classes. So love the peek behind the curtain there. And one follow up to the structure that I have is that threshold you've mentioned, a 75% approval rating, that sounds like a really high bar, especially from a very esteemed committee that you've put together. So, without naming names, to add context as to just how high of a threshold that is, how many people were ultimately nominated for this first Hall of Fame class, knowing that of those nominees, 10 of them have made it on the first ballot?
So just to go back to the original point, 75% being a high bar, we have Alan Boston as one of the committee members. And Alan Boston is trying to find the right word here, is very he is very uh 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 he perfection. I don't want to say perfectionist, but he wants to ensure that this Hall of Fame is very special. So he's very particular. There's the word, particular, where you know we make a joke. I make a joke with other committee members that essentially you need 12 out of 16. That's 75%. But with Alan Boston on the committee, it's actually 80% because one of the votes is usually an automatic no. So it's actually 12 out of 15. And that's how it is. And that's how I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be hard. To get into the Hall of Fame is not easy. It has to be difficult. And that's why somebody I respect dearly, like Alan Boston, who's lived his life in this business, who's respected by several of the best, and who's, still till this day bets college basketball and does very well for himself. He knows what it takes to be a Hall of Famer. So and a lot of these committee members, in my opinion, many of them are future Hall of Famers. So it's this 75% is difficult, but it's done by design, Matt. I forgot the follow up question. What was the second question you were asking?
Oh, without naming names to contextualize that high bar, how many people were nominated relative to the 10 who made it in on the first ballot?
Yeah. So what happens is we have our rules and regulations and how we do everything on our website, on the Hall of Fame website, sghof.com. Sports Gambling Hall of Fame, sghof.com, and we have a PDF file that people could download and look at the rules and regulations. So the way it works is essentially people nominate, and goes by nomination count, and then after the once the count, we goes by highest count, and then we just go down the list until we build our class of 5 living and 5 in memoriam. That number of 10 will most likely change in the years to come. It'll never grow. 10 will always be the max, but it could definitely decrease. We just wanted to make it so that this year we have a nice solid foundation of 10. Um, and all the details can be found in that PDF file.
Got it. And Spanky, as the creator of this, now that it's up and running, and I imagine that took no shortage of effort on your part, but now that it's starting to get out there and we'll have the induction ceremony in a couple months to cap off Bet Bash 3, what's your involvement on an ongoing basis if you're not actually voting or playing too close of a role on the selection side of things?
So I'm not playing any role in the selection. All I'm doing is I'm administrating. So I make sure that everybody votes on time. Um, One of the committee members, Billy Baxter, who's a legend in this business. Sometimes he had some problems accessing the website. So I would just little things like this help him out. His opinion is second to none, but he just didn't want to really vote on the website. So I would be able to help me and my staff help him get his vote in. Other than that, though, I like being, and I kind of handed over to my staff. I kind of did it this year a lot with my staff watching me so that then they'll be able to run it. and then to put up for vote. If a committee member says, I want to change this rule, I want to change that rule, we put everything up for vote. People bring up different things all the time, and then we vote on it. And we vote to vote and change a rule. It just requires a simple majority. But the committee I built, I'm so proud of it, because these are all Hall of Famers in my mind, and they're great, and they appreciate and love the business as much as I do.
It sounds like you're dealing with a committee here by design that is lacking nothing when it comes to qualifications, or in some cases, some pretty opinionated perspectives. So, Spanky, in putting this together, what have been some of the more surprising or interesting challenges just getting consensus on what it's going to take to ultimately get this off the ground and get that first class out there? Because I imagine when perfectionism is the approach for some people, at a certain point, you also don't want to let perfect become the enemy of good.
Of course, and that's why you don't need a 100% approval rating. You need a 75%. So, like we said, you can't. We're not looking for unanimous. We're just looking for a 75% majority, and that's the threshold. And um and and, and we want to make it hard, but we also want to make it viable. And the committee, I mentioned the committee members before, and I'll mention them again: Chris Andrews, Richie Bocciolari, Billy Baxter, Chris Bruno, Dickie Carson, Steve Diano, otherwise known as Fats, Alan Boston, Arnie Lang, Vinny Maiulo, Matt Metcalf, David Purdom, Roxy Roxborough, Vic Salerno, Richard Schutz, Paris Smith, and Jeff Whitelaw. All friends of mine, all people that I've known, some a lot longer than others, and everybody that I respect in this business. And I believe it has enough sports bettors on there, enough bookmakers, offshore, domestic, everything, New York, street bookmakers, a couple of felons on there. You know what I mean? That's the business we're in. You know what I mean? So it's just a great conglomerate of people that know what it takes to be a sports gambling Hall of Famer.
And when it comes to some of these Hall of Famers, 3 have been publicly announced thus far out of the 10 in the first class. Of course, we've talked about him a lot in this conversation for good reason. Billy Walters, known as the greatest sports bettor of all time. Also, Frank Lefty Rosenthal, very well known as a pro bettor and casino executive, played by Robert De Niro in the movie Casino. And somebody on your committee, Roxy Roxborough, a preeminent odds maker in the 1980s and 90s, used technology to revolutionize the sports betting industry. Spanky, so far, 3 very worthy first ballot inductees. We've got 7 to go in terms of public announcements. And when you were recently on VSiN with Gil Alexander, you outlined a plan to announce, I think, what will be the case for all remaining 7 inductees. Can you share that with this audience as well?
Well, no, well, yeah, so there's going to be 4 to the 7 remaining.
Okay.
Chris Andrews will be announcing them on Gil's show in the weeks to come, starting tomorrow. I think he'll be announcing 2 names tomorrow, and these are 2 big names. So you don't want to miss a numbers game. On I don't know. Will this come out, Matt, before that show, or?
So
Uh,
yeah, at this point we're peeling back the curtain here in the conversation we're recording in one fell swoop. We're a bit north of 90 minutes. I'll probably cut this into a part 2, so people might be hearing this on that would be Wednesday, June 14th. That said, of course, anybody can go back and check on Twitter at the SGHOF, or as you mentioned, the website sghof.com to stay current on all publicly announced inductees as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, so it's going to be great. And it's I'm very impressed with this class. Once you see the inaugural class, it's going to be great. And a lot of people say, "Oh, how come this guy didn't get in or this guy didn't get in?" Listen, it's an ongoing project. Um, you know, there's once you have a Billy Walters and a Roxy Roxborough, like what I mean. Those are big names, and you have Frank Lefty Rosenthal. These guys are that threesome right there is enough to hold. Those are the giants there. So, but I'm excited. I can't wait.
Well, you mentioned that some people you almost can't please everybody, no matter how much good work you do. And I'm wondering what your outlook might be on constructive criticism when it comes to the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame. Because yeah, people, like everything in life, people can have qualms about just about anything. And at a certain point, it's probably necessary to find an optimal balance of tuning out the critics and also taking certain feedback to heart is an opportunity to improve. So, Spanky, when it comes to that spectrum, how are you looking at things within your committee being maybe a little bit more insular in how you handle business with the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame, or certain cases where you do want to hear outside criticism to try to make this thing as successful and impactful as it can possibly be?
Yeah, we definitely want to. We want to hear, now that everything's announced and the cat's out of the bag for this next class, we're going to probably do something where we would ask people to suggest who would you induct into the Hall of Fame, and every name that suggests the committee will hear. Because the committee, listen, the committee is great, but there's, they, their the memories are some people we might not remember every name, and or you might bring a name to the committee's attention that they might not have thought of. So we want to hear it, because this is not just a Hall of Fame built by us and the committee, and not this is the people's hall. This is a sports gambling Hall of Fame to be shared by everybody that ever walks into the Circus sports book that's going to see a big sports gambling Hall of Fame sign there. They're going to say, who's in this Hall of Fame? And so this is a big deal, and this Hall of Fame should outlive all of us. And we definitely want people, just like in any Hall of Fame, we want to hear what the people have to say. And the committee is very open to that, and are open to hear as much outside knowledge as possible.
All right. Well, Spanky, I appreciate your creation of the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame, all the context you've shared here for this audience, the way this is going to integrate into Bet Bash. It seems like a pretty seamless pairing. Can't wait to see that unfold in just a couple months' time. And one more topic to hit on with you, another creation of yours. I'd be doing a disservice to this audience if I had you on and didn't touch on SpankOdds, which is your currently free, not permanently free, but currently free real-time odds service. Spanky, it's been really amazing to see this thing take off. I think since the last Bet Bash, I can't remember exactly when it launched, but it seems like it has really taken on a life of its own. And with that, I'm wondering, what have been some of the biggest challenges so far with launching SpankOdds, and what are some of the aspects that you're the most proud of thus far?
Listen, the biggest challenges were scalability, to be able to accommodate so many users. We crashed the first day we launched. Obviously, I knew that was going to happen, but that's just how it is. And we've crashed a few times here and there, but we're getting better. Anybody, a couple of people complained, and I offered them a full refund. It's free. So, it's just part of growing pains, and we're getting better and better. We're very proud of our injury team, very proud of what was accomplished, very proud of the sports books that we have on there. Some of them exclusive just to us. And it's great. We're very excited, and SpankOdds is a tool, again, just like BetBash. BetBash is something that we go to and we enjoy and we get value out of. SpankOdds is not just a tool that I'm building for the masses. No, SpankOdds is an internal tool that my people, that my bettors, that my staff use every day. So this is not just a thing to, oh, let me build a product and make money. No, it's a build a product that I've already had built for years and years. I just needed to put it out there to scale and to put it for public consumption. But an internal version of SpankOdds has been in my office for about 17 years now. I just never shared it with anybody, because uh, I don't want to give up, my edge. That was a big edge of mine. But now I feel as if I could kind of give up some of that edge and still be able to be profitable. So, and also, frankly speaking, I believe that I might be able to hopefully make more money with the SpankOut subscriptions once we start charging than keeping all those edges to myself. I think that this, and it's just one of those things in which it just made economic sense to release some of the stuff we did. So we'll see what happens.
And to that last point, Spanky, do you have any vision for how much longer SpankOdds will be a free service? And once you start charging, what that might look like for people who are willing to make that a part of presumably a monthly payment plan to keep as part of their betting arsenal?
Right now, Matt, I can't comment on anything. I just don't know. It's free until the beginning of football season. That's what we declared. So it's still free for the rest of the summer. Enjoy. We might start charging with football. We might not. I don't know. It all depends on, you know, if I come out of Bet Bash as a happy guy, I might want to extend the free speaker. I just don't know. I have to sit down, talk to my staff. We have to look at the financials, look at the economics of the whole thing, and then make a decision there. I'm happy to keep it free. I'd want to keep it free as long as possible. So I'm all for it, but at the same time, like I said before, I'm not allergic to making money either. So we got to just look at the numbers, and I wish I could give you more, but I can't.
Understood. Well, one question that maybe we can get just a bit more from you on when it comes to one component of SpankOdds. I think it's a really interesting look at the juxtaposition of regulated sports books and offshore sports books. There's plenty of reading between the lines that SpankOdds users can do there. And Spanky, if we think about regulated versus offshore, I feel like the whispers have started to pick up a little bit in recent weeks or months of a potential offshore crackdown. Some of this might just be political posturing. I'd love to get your thoughts on this because, from what I gather, it seems like any sort of major offshore crackdown is probably really unlikely in the near term. But it seems like, again, maybe it's just political and more noise than signal, but it seems like some talk is gaining steam. I had an interview last month to mark the 5-year past anniversary with attorney and sports bettor, and as I mentioned earlier, Bet Bash attendee Mike Roselli. He had some insight on this from his point of view. From your point of view, Spanky, what do you think should happen as we consider the regulated and the offshore betting markets coexisting? And what do you think will happen looking at things in a forward-looking sense?
Yeah, I don't really know what's happening with crackdowns and everything. They've been trying to crack down on this for 25 years now, and change, since the Jay Cohen days of WSEX and all this. So you know, you, America tries to police the world, and you just can't do it. These sports books, these offshore sports books might be committing crimes under U.S. law, but under Costa Rican law or Panamanian law, or wherever they're located, they're not committing any crimes. And sure, they might not be welcome to come to the states, but there's no way that these countries, that sports gambling is going to be on the agenda, to for the United States to tell a country like Costa Rica, you have to stop these sports books from operating. It's just there's about 55 other more important things, I believe, on the agenda. And there was a time in which, when before the internet was full blown, where there was a lot rows of clerks, Costa Rica, second only to tourism, the sports gambling industry was the major economy builder, only second to tourism in Costa Rica. I don't think that's the same now, but it was a big thing, and it's just hard. Instead of trying to police and deter people from going offshore because the offshore bookmakers are breaking U.S. law, I would strongly suggest that that the domestic sports books should instead build a more encompassing and a better product, and a more welcoming product, to make it so that it'll be dumb and stupid for a customer to play offshore, because every other aspect of sports betting would be better onshore. And it's actually the opposite now, except for the guarantee of the money. But there are several offshore reputable sports books where the money is more or less guaranteed. So, and they're not going to get kicked out, and they're going to get paid in a timely manner. And some of them could bet on credit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of check marks that the domestic sports books just can't ever check. So it's interesting to see it play out, but I don't think offshore sports betting is going anywhere, to be honest.
Wise words to take us across the finish line from the one and only Spanky. You can find him on Twitter at Spanky. He's also the host of the Be Better Betters podcast. And like I said off the top in the first part of this interview, creator extraordinaire, SpankOdds, the real time odds service that's free until it's not, the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame, and Bet Bash, the sports betting networking conference. For Bet Bash 3 tickets and info, check out betbash.co. Spanky, final question for you. If you can imagine someone who's listening to this conversation and maybe they've still got just a little bit of sticker shock from the Bet Bash 3 price point, but they are very intrigued in attending an event like this, what would be your final, let's call it an elevator pitch to that type of person?
I would tell them to listen to testimonials. I did a Twitter Spaces recently that's on. If you just look at my Twitter feed, listen to what other people have to say. That's always the best thing. Listen, the wisdom of the crowd. Other people will tell you that the price of admission is nothing compared to what you can get. I mean, what you could learn. And that's it. Just follow. It's hard for me to sell Bet Bash One or even Bet Bash Two when it's initial. I believe, and look at the video. Look how much fun we had. I have a nice big fat YouTube video on betbash.co, on the main webpage. Just look how fun. Listen to the testimonials. Listen to what other people said. Every one of those testimonials, nobody was paid to do it. These were all real Bet Bash attendees. My videographer was walking around and would ask if anybody wants to give testimonials. Let me know. What do you think? And that's what they did. You know what I mean? This is not pay testimonials, none of that. This is real people telling real stories, how their lives were changed. You mentioned Jason Weingartner, Matt. Jason Weingartner, because of Bet Bash, wind up getting a job and wind up changing his career, or wind up making connections. He'll go. I don't want to, kind of go into details on it, but big things happen to him. Big things happen to so many people. I've seen so many lives changed, including our own. We've made connections, big connections. So, like, you know, if every, I've heard so many good things. I haven't heard bad things. Except for the chili dogs, and we took care of that. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm just being honest. Like, I'm just trying to look back on it. It's been a year and a half almost. So, a year and change, but there's nothing bad to be said. Like, we had like a 98 out of one of the questions we asked in a survey. We sent the survey last year. Would you attend Bet Bash next year? I think we had either a 98 or a 99% approval rating response rate of yes. Like, you know, people just know that that's what it is. It's the place to be if you want to get better at sports betting. Come to Bet Bash.
I can't wait to see you there, Spanky, in just about 2 months' time on Tuesday, August 8th, maybe Monday the 7th, if we can squeeze in Oak and
Yes.
Ivy unofficially beforehand. For now, I cannot thank you enough for your time and insight. This has been such a great conversation. Spanky, thank you so much.
Matt, thank you. I see my name here. SpankOdds founder, pisses in jugs. I appreciate that. Is that you put that there, or
No, this has been. I thought you had that as a joke. That must be from a previous StreamYard appearance that you had,
Oh, okay.
because
I thought you chose that. This was not. This was
I,
this was probably, who it was. This was the circles off guys. One of those. I think, did they use
oh, there you
StreamYard?
go. Probably maybe producer Zach Phillips or Jacob or one of the
One of
guys
those
over
guys.
there had
I
a good
thought you
time.
put that down there, and I'm like, all right, we could go with it. We're yeah. Just this could be an exclusive, Matt. We might be actually selling Bet Bash Spanky piss jugs at Bet Bash. We're only going to have a limited quantity, so if you want to get the best piss jugs in the world, we might be selling them at Bet Bash. So keep an eye out for those.
Oh goodness. Okay, that's a highlight to wrap this up on. I will say, for those listening in podcast form, you may not understand this, but for those watching on YouTube, the video feed under Spanky's name, there's a label that makes reference to the piss jugs. I thought that was your doing, and you just kept it kind of tongue in cheek as a nod to a
No,
classic story from your past.
I thought that was your doing, actually, Matt. So there we go. We keep it, no problem. I love
All
it.
right, yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, like you said on a different note earlier in this conversation. Well, Spanky, once again, thank you very much. And to all those of you listening to this conversation, thank you for watching on YouTube, listening in podcast form. Really appreciate the time. And I will catch you next week right back here on Props and Hops.
Thank you.